Mechanics don't always warn you about this, because some additives on the shelf aren't just unnecessary. They're harmful. In just a few minutes, you're going to see 9 fuel and oil additives that can eat away at your engine's internals, clog injectors, or leave behind residue that mimics mechanical failure. It's the reason so many drivers keep pouring money into repairs without realizing the real culprit, the bottle they trusted to help their car. Stick around, because the final additive is the one almost every driver has considered using. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Number 1. Chlorinated additives. At first glance, chlorinated additives look like they're working wonders. The label often promises intense cleaning power, saying it will protect and extend the life of your engine. It sounds convincing, since chlorine-based compounds can break down stubborn deposits. But the moment these chemicals meet fuel and combustion, the story changes fast. Inside the combustion chamber, chlorine doesn't just disappear. It reacts to form highly acidic byproducts. Those acids don't stay in one place. They circulate with oil and slowly chew into key engine surfaces. Bearings develop scars, and thin metal films that are meant to protect moving parts start breaking down. This is especially harmful because drivers believe they're adding lubrication, when what's really happening is the opposite. Instead of coating parts with protection, the additive strips away oil's natural barrier. The end result is accelerated wear, and in severe cases, failures that cost thousands. That's why mechanics dread seeing chlorine in a car's additive history. Number 2. Diesel octane boosters. Octane boosters often sound tempting. The name alone makes it feel like you're giving your engine extra power, but in a diesel, they're nothing more than a trap. Diesel engines don't even use octane as a measure of performance. They run on cetane, which controls how quickly the fuel ignites under compression. By pouring in a product meant to raise octane, you're basically feeding your engine a chemical it doesn't need. That mismatch can cause real headaches. Instead of smoother combustion, you can end up with longer ignition delay, rough idling, and even those frustrating hard starts on cold mornings. Some drivers notice clogged injectors not long after using these additives, since the chemicals never actually blend properly with diesel. What makes this worse is the marketing. These bottles prey on confusion, mixing up gasoline and diesel terminology. Mechanics know it's sabotage, but they rarely spell it out, because correction means fixing mistakes that keep their shops busy. Number 3. Alcohol-heavy cleaners. Fuel system cleaners often sound like the perfect solution, and many drivers grab them, expecting a fresh start for their engine. But the ones packed with high levels of alcohol carry a hidden cost. Alcohol doesn't just flush out buildup, it strips moisture barriers and slowly robs rubber and plastic of their flexibility. Over time, that drying effect shows up as cracked fuel lines or brittle seals. Pumps, which depend on constant lubrication, start to wear down faster, and that wear can mimic serious mechanical issues. The problem gets even worse when you factor in alcohol's ability to pull in water from the air. That moisture settles in the tank, mixes unevenly, and adds stress on injectors that were never designed for it. Blends heavy in glycol ether or isopropanol are especially harsh with repeated use. Mechanics often recognize this damage immediately, but drivers rarely link it back to the cleaner they trusted. Number 4. Teflon-based additives. Some additives try to stand out by advertising Teflon as their secret weapon, with claims that it coats engine parts like a protective shield. On paper, that sounds appealing. After all, Teflon is a low-friction material, and the idea of slicker surfaces inside an engine feels like a smart upgrade. But the reality inside a running motor is very different. Engines don't operate at mild kitchen temperatures. Under the extreme heat of combustion, Teflon doesn't spread evenly. It clumps together. Those clumps become sludge, which doesn't float harmlessly in the oil. It sticks in tight areas and starts to block narrow oil passages. When oil flow is restricted, bearings lose the lubrication they need, and heat builds fast. Over the years, many drivers complained about gummed-up internals after using Teflon-based formulas, especially in cars with higher mileage. Instead of protection, these coatings transform into sludge traps. Mechanics know the nightmare of tearing down an engine packed with this residue. Number 5. Snake oil MPG boosters. Everyone wants to squeeze extra miles out of a tank of fuel, which makes so-called MPG boosters sound like a dream purchase. The bottles are marketed with promises of improved efficiency, lower costs at the pump, and even cleaner emissions. At first glance, it feels like a risk-free bet. But under the surface, most of these formulas don't have much to back them up. Many brands rely on trace metallics or untested blends that claim to optimize combustion. In reality, those additives often alter the burn cycle in unpredictable ways, adding nothing to usable power or mileage. Independent reviews have repeatedly shown results that fall flat, with advertised gains disappearing once testing gets serious. What tricks drivers is the placebo effect. More cautious throttle use or smoother driving after adding the product often gets mistaken as proof it worked. Mechanics know better. These gimmicks leave wallets lighter and sometimes fuel systems dirtier. Number 6. Metallic catalyst additives. Some fuel additives go a step further by mixing actual metals into the formula, marketed as catalysts, that supposedly make combustion more efficient. You'll see claims that iron, manganese, or copper improve burn quality, leading to smoother power and better fuel use. On the surface, that might sound scientific, but inside an engine, those metals behave very differently. Instead of burning away, they leave behind tiny ash particles. Over time, that ash acts like sandpaper inside the cylinders, scratching walls and accelerating wear. It doesn't stop there. Those same particles travel down the exhaust, where they settle inside catalytic converters and slowly clog the honeycomb structure. Despite this, companies wrap their advertising in technical terms, hoping to convince drivers desperate for extra performance. In reality, repair bills grow instead of fuel savings. Mechanics can usually spot the metallic residue after a teardown, but most owners never realize the source was a bottle they trusted. Number 7. Diesel gel breakers. When temperatures drop, many diesel owners turn to gel breakers, advertised as instant fixes for fuel that has thickened in the cold. These products look like a lifesaver in freezing weather, claiming to restore flow within minutes. But while the pitch sounds convincing, the chemistry behind them rarely works out in the driver's favor. Poorly blended gel breakers don't simply thin the fuel, they often separate components inside the tank. The result is fuel that loses stability and lubrication, leaving injectors running dry under stress. Pumps that rely on consistent lubrication start wearing down quickly, even if the engine seems to run at first. Mechanics regularly hear stories from truckers who sprayed in cheap fluid during emergencies, only to face scarring on injector tips weeks later. Instead of preventing costly downtime, these quick fixes can leave behind long-term damage. It's an all-too-common reason pumps and injectors end up on the shop floor. Number 8. Lead substitutes. A lot of classic car enthusiasts still reach for lead substitutes, convinced they're saving their valves from wear. The idea comes from decades ago, when real lead in fuel-cushioned valve seats. But most modern engines, and even the majority of rebuilt classics, already use hardened valve seats that don't need that protection at all. The truth is, those bottles are solving a problem that no longer exists. Instead of preserving the engine, these substitutes introduce new problems. They often leave chemical deposits that coat spark plugs and build up on oxygen sensors. When that happens, the engine may misfire, idle poorly, or trigger error codes that act like ignition failures. It's easy for owners to blame the car, while the real culprit is the additive. Many drivers hold on to the nostalgia of leaded fuel, ignoring its side effects. Mechanics know it, yet challenging tradition-minded owners can spark arguments they'd rather avoid. Number 9. Over-concentrated PEA knockoffs. Polyethyramine, often called PEA, is one of the few fuel cleaners that earns its reputation. When used in the right balance, it breaks down carbon deposits inside injectors and intake valves without leaving harmful residue. That makes it one of the rare additives experts actually recommend. But here's the issue. Cheap bottles on the market often misuse that chemistry. Some knockoffs pack an excessive concentration, while others slap PEA on the label, even though the formula contains substitutes that don't behave the same. Instead of cleaning the system, these over-strength blends can create sticky layers that gum up injectors. Drivers expecting smoother performance have reported rougher idling, sluggish acceleration, and even misfires after using so-called extra-strength versions. The irony is that the real ingredient works when done right. The danger isn't the compound itself, but how it gets misused. That's why it's one of those hidden traps few consumers ever see coming. The key lesson here is simple: more isn't always better. Grabbing a random bottle with bold promises can do more harm than good, leaving you with costly repairs. Trust what your engine was actually designed to run on, along with certified fuels, because that decision protects both performance and your wallet long-term.